Welcome back to Viewer Discretion with Mina Kimes and David Dennis Jr. I guess that's a little redundant for me to say with Mina Kimes, but it is in the show's title.
Yeah, of course.
All right, welcome back to Viewer Discretion with us here to recap an unbelievably eventful week of Love Island episodes. David, do you feel like America slapped you in the face this week?
America, yes. America, not the first time I've questioned some of the things America has done, as you can imagine. But also, I want to shout out to all the people in the mentions who are thirsty for us to like have emergency pods and do all these things and like hop in. Trust me, like we would love to, and we want to, like we are locked in, and
We're so locked in.
we have emergency pods with ourselves in the text as the weeks go on.
I actually feel like we timed this one perfectly because the scheduling is very sporadic. You don't know when recouplings are. This is the beauty and the mystery of Love Island. So we, as I mentioned, we are switching to Wednesdays because there's no episode today. So you can use the day to watch our show, or you can watch it tomorrow morning. And we're coming off of the heels off of a dramatic recoupling.
Yeah, buddy.
I joked about America slapping you face. I think people would argue America got it right and maybe the Islanders didn't, judging by the response. So we're going to go couple by couple, and we're going to start with Jeremiah and Huda, who are really the main characters of the season thus far. But I want to start just really quickly by analyzing last night's result, because that is, I have so many notes on Jeremiah and Huda. Oh my God. Because this is the topic of the morning. And if you're listening to the show, spoiler alert, I don't know, why would you listen to this if you're not caught up? Okay, so this is through Tuesday's episode of Love Island, in which the Islanders had to walk through doors picking someone else, and then someone that had to pick them for them to make a connection. Jeremiah picked Iris. He had a choice between Huda and her. Huda, of course, freaked out. Then it was up to the Islanders whether or not to vote for Huda or Jalen, who had been rejected by Olandria. We'll break that down as well. So before we get into what actually happened with the votes, at this point, did you think Huda's out of here?
No, I didn't. There was no way I thought Huda was going home. Like, there was just absolutely no way I thought she was going home, especially with Jalen sitting there. Like, I mean, if you're going to pick the two, I thought for sure all the women were going to go with Huda. Ace, there's a lot to talk about Ace making the move to Huda. At that point was really interesting. I didn't think she was going home at all. At what I thought was going to happen, I thought we may have a bombshell come or somebody. Like, they were keeping her on somehow. I thought maybe we get a bombshell or something, but there was no chance Huda was going home.
Okay, so the votes largely split alongst gender lines, and I think some of that had to do with the way they did the vote, which is they've done this before. They did it last season where they have people line up behind the person you're going to vote for. And I think once the women all started going one way, the men are still going another way. I was like, okay, the women are going to get in line. And I think that's largely why Iris, who we'll talk about her, and Huda and Ace ended up voting for Huda over Jalen. The big surprise to me was Ace, because there's two boys who crossed the picket line. One was Taylor, who didn't want to vote for his op, Jalen, even though he had been rejected. Fine. I don't think we have to break that one down too much. So Ace was the big shocker. Right, because he's been side-eyeing Huda, he's been discrediting the relationship. So I have 5 theories as to why he voted. 5 theories as to why Ace voted for Huda, the short theories, and I want you to tell me which one you think is most
It's important. It's important to note that after he voted for her, he refused to shake her hand when she reached her hand out.
Which should weigh into your thoughts on this. Okay, number 1 theory is Ace just wanted to help his boy Taylor. So he didn't want to vote for Taylor's op, who is Jalen. Just throw that out there.
Okay. All
right. Number 2 theory. This whole time we've thought Ace hates Huda. He really hates Jeremiah.
Okay. All right. That's a little bit. I like that one. I like that one a lot.
Okay. 3, he's just playing the game. And he knows that the Hurricane Huda Jeremiah toxicity is giving him cover for some of his activities, or it keeps his competition down. He wants to win. And I don't think it's really about the money. He wants to be like the couple that people like. Because let's be real, we're going to talk about this episode. That toxicity made him look, I thought, comparatively better. It made their relationship look better, him and Chelley. So that's theory number 3. Theory number 4, OG loyalty. The OGs. This is something we see a lot on Love Island. It's not about men or women. It's just, and Jalen was an outsider. Theory 5, Ace is a producer plant.
Okay. Tell me what that. Go for it. What does that mean?
You said it yourself. Huda is great TV. Jalen, sorry, my guy, you're not great TV.
Not great TV.
Jalen was not going to do anything if he stayed on the show. And producers getting in Ace's ear, like, hey man, you're going to look like a good guy if you pick the woman. And, you know, we've been working together. Keep it interesting. Just throwing that one out there. So hates Jeremiah, wanted to help Taylor, playing the game to win, OG loyalty, producer plant. Of those 5 theories, what do you think is the most likely? Or maybe something else?
I'm going to go with all of the theories that involve the most cynical reading of Ace possible. So like the kindness of the OG thing, want to side with his boy Taylor, we're throwing that out. I think it's a combination of all of these things because Ace, as we've discussed, like this is not my, I'm not a Love Island like historian and have not watched from the beginning. But last season, I felt like winning was so much in the periphery of the show.
Yeah.
Way more than it feels like this season. And it's largely because of Ace. Ace has it in the front of my mind that at some point somebody's got to win, right? And Ace is reminding me that, he's trying to win, right? And I think Ace, the America vote changed so much for a lot of people, but I think for Ace, it made him realize, okay, this is what people think about what's going on and let me further manipulate the votes. And I think part of it was he wanted to look like a good guy, right? Because he, at that point, he started the ladies, and he was kind of like, when Huda didn't get picked, he was, damn, and it was all sad and all that stuff. He was more sad about that than when everybody was sobbing earlier when they had to vote off one of the people earlier. He laughed. He did not, but he seemed to be genuinely or whatever sad about that. So I think that there's like this, how do I look? I don't want to pile on to Huda. I don't know how people think about her totally. I want to look good. And I think there's a part of this where he does have issues with Jeremiah because he's been trying to alpha male Jeremiah the entire time.
He hates him. I do think that factors into this because remember when Jeremiah finally stood up to Huda and he was like, wow, really, dude?
Yeah.
Suddenly flipped it on him, and Nick were like, that was actually not cool how you handled it. Poor, Jeremiah.
I think he hates you because also you got to remember, like, Iris is going for Jeremiah, who Ace, like, it seems like now we have 2 situations in which women that Ace seems to initially be interested in have gone for Jeremiah, who is like another attractive black dude who, he may feel some sort of way about, and he's been sort of trying to sun Jeremiah the entire time.
I should have added this as a 6th theory, which is he also wants to keep Iris on the back burner, and keeping Huda in the villa allows him to do that a little bit. Yeah, I think summing it all up under Ace being the game player, the biggest game player in the villa, is the right way to put this. I think that he is in it to win, and not just win in the what is it, $250,000?
Right.
Like, I mean, I think he wants to be the last man standing.
The superstar of the show. He wants
to win the show. He wants to win the show. And whether we're going to talk about later whether or not he's risen or fallen in our regard, but I think that is it was a very confusing moment, but I think that that's probably the best explanation for why it happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Jeremiah and Huda and everything that led up to this.
Okay.
Oh my God. I mean, this is the couple that everybody knows who everybody just wants to break up in the friend group because everyone's just tired of their BS and they're exhausting. And it's funny. Mamacita, that conversation feels so long ago.
I know.
This last batch of episodes starts with them fighting. So they've been fighting the entire time. There's no peace here. This is you start seeing a trend early on where whenever he pushes back her fights, she kind of turns it sexual a little bit, which we'll get into. But she does reveal to Nick that in a moment that has since gone viral that I'm a mommy.
Mamacita.
I have a daughter.
What does it say? A mom? A what mom? A dog mom?
Dog mommy? Dog mommy? I'm sorry. I love Nick. I just can't
Yeah,
quit.
it was
He's just
really it was a
gem.
really Nick's last week has been really great, right? I think so. Especially after he seemed to be like this sort of like I don't like Huda, I don't like Jeremiah, like kind of like this bro, like going with all the bros, but he's kind of
Yeah.
that moment I think turned things around for him, and he's been kind of like flying high ever since.
I think he handled that conversation well, but then he handled it with Nick well when
Yeah,
he explained to her, he was like, look, this is a big commitment. Like he's just I
yeah,
feel like generally acting in good faith.
yeah,
I think I know in the last one I was like, oh, he's an ace follower.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
actually I think especially watching how him and Cierra kind of handled this week,
yeah.
because Cierra, you might remember, is the only woman in the villa who has said to Huda's face that she's not moving correctly.
Right,
And very gently, but she just says,
sure.
hey, maybe like cut out the name calling. I think
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
like a really good moment for her too. So they're just constantly having fights. Then this again, the bombshells show up, Pepe, Jalen, and
mm,
Iris, and they do the during the leather and lace party at the beginning of the sequence. There's an incredible moment where so the bombshells all get to kiss
mm.
their everybody's partners while they're on the opposite side of the X.
Which by the way, I would encourage anybody who's traveling to read the synopses of the shows before you try to watch them on the airplane, because it was a it was a tough watch for the people next to me on the airplane while I was
Leather and lace party.
right, while I was trying to grind tape on a flight.
um, yeah, it didn't look great. And Huda had a fairly hilarious moment where when they're on the X,
Yeah.
they're on opposite sides, and she like somehow contorts her entire body. And Jeremiah at this point, he starts like pushing back. He's like,
Yeah.
"Come on, really, dude? Like double
Because
standard."
she was making out on her side of the X, and like it was, yeah, bad look for her. I think that was really why everybody had their sort of like Jeremiah Huda islands that they were on.
Yeah,
Most people, I think there was no return from that, because we already seen her cussing about Amaya when she got there, and she said she wasn't going to do it. She apologized, and then now she does it again after she's making out with somebody. That
yeah.
kind of was like it was hard to turn back for her.
She sucks. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I
yeah.
held out. I held out a lot of sympathy because I was like, I can imagine you being really sensitive. You just told a kid. I think I saw on the internet maybe that like, I don't know if it was the father of her daughter, but she had been cheated on. So there
Yeah,
was
yeah,
sensitivity. Friends are busy out there defending her. That's all fine. But there's all these little things and little comments she makes that are not like the things you do
right.
as a nice person that have
Yeah.
nothing to do with that, including the way she treats Jeremiah entirely separately
Mm,
from the commitment that they may or may not have made to each
yeah,
other. We can talk about that. Like, she starts nitpicking at him about how the other guys are doing dates.
yeah,
Can't you do more? There's the affair of the pancakes, where I guess we should talk about that. It's the world's dumbest fight where he
yeah.
tries to make her pancakes. She makes a big show about how they're uncooked. And this is where she really lost me when she says Taylor helped her. And then she says, eat all your food. You're a man. I was like, all right.
Well, before then, what got to me was when he brought her the plate. She goes, "No protein," like
Oh,
that.
yeah. No
No
protein.
protein. That was out. When she says no protein, I'm out. I'm out before we even get to that point.
I think what we're seeing is she has some like pretty regressive views
Yeah,
about like what a man should be doing in a relationship and
yeah,
what a man should and shouldn't be. And I don't know. The other thing though, yeah, like you alluded to this, she was also rude to Iris. She
yeah.
tells her we're the strongest couple. Um it's just building. And oh no, this was another one when he admits that she asks what his and Iris conversation was about or something, and he admits that he said that they had been having problems, and she's like, "You never should bring up your
Yo, yeah,
problems to another." There's all these like
yeah.
toxic. It's funny because
Like,
there's so much comment on the toxicity in their relationship, but I feel like her views are actually what's driven a wedge between them.
yeah, and also there's I'm going to get your take on this, because there's like what seems to be an overuse and improper use of love bombing that's being
Mm,
used here. The idea that Jeremiah was love bombing her. Ace said it. She said it. Um, and it seems like she's kind of love bombing him, especially sexually when they're having
yeah.
some things going on. But
Ooh.
I don't think Jeremiah's love bombing her, unless I'm just misunderstanding how this works. I think he just genuinely liked her. And then when stuff started to happen, he's kind of like pulling back or trying to figure things out, especially with the kids stuff. I don't think there's like an intentional like abusive love bombing going on. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I'm not seeing it.
I think the most sympathetic view of her starts in the premise, not that he's love bombing her, because I agree with you. I think that it's being overused, but that maybe he's written checks that he's not planning on cashing.
Yeah.
You could definitely read his behavior for the first 6 or 7 episodes as being possessive to some degree. I don't think extremely, but like signaling a level of commitment we rarely see that early on Love Island. Like rejecting any other women from the jump.
Right.
And again, he has this conversation with her where he doesn't admit it, but he's like, we move too fast.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a hot dog guy, like you move too fast.
Right.
But like, so I think the most sympathetic view of her is that he set these false expectations and that she went from 0 to 100 in response to that. And then he freaked out. So if he deserves any blame for how this has gone down, I would say that's it. But again, I think a lot of her behavior towards him has nothing to do with that. The stuff we've been talking about, the little sniping comments, the rudeness, the way she on other women, that has nothing to do with this dude setting false expectations. Right. That's purely her not being cool.
Yeah, and I think I think a friend of hers posted that she hadn't watched the show. She doesn't know anything about the show, things like that. So the kissing has been like, all that commitment stuff is kind of like she went into the show differently. And that may be the case, but at some point it's like she's fine with the kissing of the folks and like she's not fine with you doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to sort of like parse that out. But also the conversation that I found to be one of the most fascinating is the one she has with Ace, where she tells Ace that she is a mommy, and his reaction is much different than Nick's because she tries to. I mean, it's starting to feel as though she is kind of like using this sort of like thing as like a shield or like an explanation for things, and she tells Ace, and Ace is like, I grew up with a single mom. Try again. Like this does not do anything. This doesn't do anything for him.
A decent Ace moment because he wasn't. I actually thought he handled himself pretty well. Like he wasn't. Like he was accepted that she was telling him something pretty like serious, and it's kind of weird at this point because like 60% of the villa knows. I don't know, but it's a point where they all reveal it to I think Austin by accident. The perfect guy to. But yeah, I think her act is kind of wearing so thin on people that there's no excuses to be made at this point. So the big catalyst for the complete explosion that leads to the near elimination is America's vote. Yeah. So this is the first time they've ever done this on Love Island. America gets to pick who the bombshells will couple up with.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Jalen gets coupled up with Olandria. Pepe gets coupled up with Hannah, sending poor Charlie home. But the biggest bombshell, of course, or revelation rather, is that Jeremiah and Huda are split up. So you mentioned this. Ace laughs when it happens. Again, that was a good Ace moment.
Hysterically laughs.
I have severe issues with this dude still, but like he's kind of funny. I do think he's.
And it's such a contrast to Amaya, who is yelling and screaming her guts out like she is at the climax of a Tyler Perry movie because this is happening. And it's like
Amaya reacted more dramatically to it was really Charlie getting eliminated. She was the one who did it. I think that was part of the reaction. Then honestly, when Russell Wilson was intercepted in the Super Bowl with Malcolm Butler, that woman was wailing.
she was wailing from beginning, and then Ace just has another viral moment where he side eyes her and is kind of like, "What do you like? Why are you doing this?" It's just like perfect Ace memology.
We need the enemies to lovers Amaya Ace arc. Okay, but we'll get to the Charlie elimination of it. So but Huda, Ariana's really good at this. She's like, "Why do you think America picked you?" This is, I think, legitimately fascinating when they do votes like this because we make these decisions, and then so this is to get to what you're saying about Ace. These Islanders, they're there for love, but they're also there to become famous.
Yeah,
and when there's a little intervention like this, it sends them spiraling, not because of the relationship per se, but because then they have to reckon with, what does America think of me?
Yes.
Why are they making this choice? Is it because they don't like my partner? Is it because they don't like me? And like, if you really put yourself in the mind space of someone who wants to be an influencer, who's giving imperfect information, it's kind of crazy, David. Like, you can see why it sends them spiraling so much.
You know, it was funny. Like, I was watching this and I was like, this is the closest a reality show has made me feel like I'm watching Snowfall. Like, there's like the drugs, but then there's like the decisions that America makes that like filters down into like the street level activity that makes everybody like. I was like, this is like episode of Snowfall. It's very fascinating.
I wrote this down at some point. There's a point where I think this is later. Yeah, when they're like, there's the really really long fight that Jeremiah and Huda have. That Ian makes like a ton of jokes about how long it's going on, and they're like debating, what did America see?
Yeah.
She's like, did you make America act this way? It really reminds me of like the Democratic Party trying to understand why Kamala lost. Should we have gone on more podcasts? Should we have done Rogan? Like, that is. It was like a autopsy, and I don't think either of them really got it, to be honest.
Yeah, they don't.
I mean, of course, Huda immediately pivots to blaming Iris because she sucks. And I don't think at any point in this entire, from this until, maybe we'll see what happens after this recoupling, does she ever even occur to her the possibility that America is tired of how she treats this man?
Yeah, because she would mention it, but I think she would mention it for sympathy. She would just be like, I think America hates me, like, and then she also kind of went to like, does America think I'm not good for you because I'm a mom? Like, there was kind of like a little bit of that hinting towards it. Like, there was that, and there was no, one thing that Huda does is she kind of like reimagines reality around her in a very sort of like toxic way. And so there was no self-reflection that comes with that. There's no like world in which he's like, did they see me say no protein? And is that a problem? Like, do I need to treat him better? There was none of that in the discussion.
It's the other interesting dynamic on Love Island is they're getting imperfect information via these votes, but then bombshells come in.
Yeah.
And I believe sometimes we're not shown conversations they have with the bombshells where they learn a little bit more about how they're perceived. And the only person who made even close to a correct diagnosis of what was going on was Iris, who said, maybe America's tired of watching them fight. And, but Iris has gotten a little bit of it. She's come in later. She's been on the internet. She's watched the show.
And when she first gets there, she says they're together, but there are cracks in their relationship. And she is perceptive of what's going on with them.
One thing I will say in Huda's defense, it is kind of weird that Jeremiah doesn't talk to her at all after.
Jeremiah is so, we saw at the end, before we did last episode, where he is so impacted by what his boys think about, what other people think about him. Yeah. And now to have like America also say that this thing doesn't work was deeply impactful for him. And it was messed up. He probably should have like checked in on her at some point. But he regressed into him, like he sort of caved into himself when the boys said it. And now you have all these strangers saying it. And of course he's going to do that again. They're just not good for each other. Like, they're just not compatible for each other at all. Like, they're just not going to work.
I skipped an important revelation, which is before the recoupling, they have sex. And she tells everyone, again, very early in some ways for this.
And the most childish way to tell a human being. Like, it deeply annoyed me how she told everybody. She says, I wish I could tell you guys something. And then they're like, and then Sierra's like, just tell us. And she was like, I can't tell you what happened. And then they're like, you had sex. And she's like, yep. And so just like, it was such a weird, it was like a little thing that's like, if somebody communicated me in that way, I'd be like, I don't want to be friends with you or like have a conversation with you.
We'll contrast it with the normal reaction that people usually get when they reveal to other people on the show that they've, had reached some sort of physical threshold. Right. Usually they these like elaborate analogies where they go, right. The girls were like, cool.
Right. They're probably annoyed by how she said it too. Or it's just like, just tell us the thing.
Charlie points out also the scene of how it happened. You can hear Jeremiah saying, you could do whatever you want
when the lights are
out. Yeah, like he was fighting her on. I don't know about that. Jeremiah. Okay, so sorry. So after recoupling, yeah, he doesn't comfort her. She calls him a bunch of names, P word, B word, this and that. And then the bombshells with their new partners go on a date. They go to the beach. It's like Jeremy and Iris don't have any chemistry. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
But when they come back, she's still freaking out. There's this really funny scene where she's eavesdropping on the boys.
Before then, she does another deeply annoying thing, is that she wakes Taylor up by tapping him on the forehead while he's sleeping, at probably like 2:00 in the morning, and he is pissed about being woken up in the middle of the night by her crashing out.
She calls him a PAB. She grabs Iris, which is just, the way she's moving with that sucks. Yeah. After the date, to ask what happened. Iris is like, "Oh, we sat on a beach. Yeah. My dream date.
Dream date. Ah."
Ace says something to Jeremiah. Again, this is unfortunately a good series of episodes for Ace. Yeah. He says to Jeremiah, she's effed up because you set the bar for so high. And I do think there is some truth in that. The guys are hard on him. Like Nick tells him the fact that Jeremiah didn't talk to Huda at all after the recoupling. He says he lost respect for how he handled it. And Jeremiah was like, what is happening? Right. That was the scene that Huda was listening to. Anyways, we don't have to get into this point. They're just fighting and fighting and fighting. She's been like, Ace, Jeremiah, you didn't care. You haven't been doing these dates, all of this. So then the morning of the second recoupling, he goes to her and he's like, all right, I had like this revelation. Yeah. We got intimate too quickly. We should have been friends first. Like, Iris is watching that and she's like, all right, you guys can go be effing crazy together.
Yeah, because their legs are like locked as they're like this conversation.
Together. He's, I thought, so nice and so chill about it. And she loses it again and storms off. And at that point, Jeremiah, you could see like the light go out. Like he was not affected at all by her leaving. It was like, all right, that's it.
Yeah, Huda reminds me of a past relationship I had. And I think we talked about this from Love is Blind. The kick rocks with like sandals on or whatever.
Oh yeah, kick with open-toed shoes.
With open-toed shoes. Laura, like people use breakup like Jeremiah had a very similar reaction to I have sometimes. Like people who use breakup language when they don't intend to break up, but I hear breakup language and we're done. You know what I'm saying? Like when you start saying the things that she said in the shower and you are like, using that language, it's violent, abusive language, to be straight up. And you like cross that threshold, like we have nothing else to talk about. And for her, that is a fight, which is why her door was still unlocked for Jeremiah, which is why she's still expecting him to like come to her. Like in her mind,
expecting him to. That's what the other thing I wanted to ask you.
I think she was. I think she absolutely was. I think she thought he was going to open that door because I think that she is having a fight and he has been broken up with. Like, I think those are the two things that are happening. He is hearing her speak. He is hearing her break up with him and call this thing over. And she is hearing a fight. And like one thing that I've like learned, a homegirl of mine had to tell me that she was like, David, you hear breakup things when people think they having fights. And like that can like cause like a big disconnect. And when Jeremiah heard her in the shower, he was hearing breakup language and he's done. And that's just how she fights. And so she gets taken off guard by like him being done with something that she is saying like that sound like we just having an argument. You know what I'm saying? We just she expects them to come back through a rough patch at the end of this.
That's so astute. I think it's another reason why they shouldn't be together. But yeah, like the way she's talking to him to a lot of us sounds really out of pocket. You said abusive. If I hate to be if the gender is reversal, right. It is really, but that's just how some people talk to each other. Yeah. And I think she probably has had that kind of dynamic before or been around it. And it's not, I personally, like, I would act the same way as Jeremiah. I'd be like, this is over. Stuff like that to me, it's over. There's no chance. We're not coming back from that.
Right.
Yeah, so the only other thing I wanted to address, because we also already broke down the vote and why it might have shaked out the way it did, was when she comes out. Again, nasty, nasty, nasty. Instead of saying, about anything about her feeling sad or maybe like trying to say Jeremiah, the first thing she says is, he told me he's not attracted to Iris. He doesn't want to sleep in a bed with her. Nasty, dude.
Yeah,
Nasty.
yeah.
Again.
Congratulations, Iris. You're the safe pick. Like, basically went. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That said, I'm so glad she's still on the show because she's incredible reality television.
Yeah, she's going to be. And I'm with you. Ace is like this. It's bringing everybody down and raising Ace's stock even more.
All right, let's do Taylor and Olandria next.
Okay.
Because they come back together. So this stretch of episodes, Jalen arrives. He is there. The producers threw him up in a lab for Olandria. He's a trucker from Georgia. He's a country boy. I started calling him RB2, which is like backup running back, because he just has backup running back energy. Yeah. Like, Jalen's not there for the glory. He's there to run between the tackles on third and short.
Yes. He has very big, like unexpected 200-yard game, and he does his first press conference. Like, we just went out there and just did the best we could. We just did everything we could. I was like, I like this guy. This guy's just all about the game.
Just streaming him in fantasy, just hoping for that day. He's a sweetie. He's pretty boring. I hate to say it. I mean, I think there's an interesting question. I was actually curious to hear your thoughts on whether Olandria and Taylor are a separate thing.
Yeah.
Do you think Jalen was always too boring for Olandria? Because I was talking to my friend about this, and he was saying that firecrackers, Olandria is a firecracker. Olandria is funny. She's cool. She has great one-liners. She's clearly smart. Everybody loves her in the villa. He was like, someone like that needs to be with someone dynamic.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true? Or do you think, because there is also the excuse me, he asked for pickles type relationship, where you got the firecracker woman standing in front of the gentle guy. Did any part of you think that Olandria and Jalen would be a match?
No. Well, at first, because just physically he was her type and he was more assertive. I think she liked that. I just don't think they have anything to talk about. I just don't think they have anything to talk
about.
Combos. Tough conversations. He's he felt like he was written. He felt like he was written to be in the longest yard or something like that. Like he just was like every time we saw him, he was like, I'm just a country boy from Georgia. He said it 5 times. I'm just a country boy, never been out the country, just a country boy from Georgia. And it was just felt like an archetypal depiction of a dude from the South. And
sweet
Taylor,
guy.
a sweet Dude. But Olandria and Taylor, both went to college of some sort. I don't know where Taylor went, but they he has an alpha tattoo, so he went somewhere. And so they just seem to be able to talk and have more conversations. Yeah. And I think Jalen scratched a certain itch for Olandria, but it just wasn't anything that would have been sustainable.
Taylor and Olandria, to me, do have a legitimate friendship.
Yes.
You can tell they hang out with each other. Taylor is friends with all the girls, by the way.
Yeah.
Him and Nick are the girls' guys. He seems like a good hang. Whatever you think about the dude, and I know there's mixed opinions on him, he seems like a fun hang. He clearly brings good energy to the villa. I never for a second thought he was going to be voted out. Yeah. And I still don't know if I buy him in Olandria. This is kind of one of the big debates on the internet about this show, is whether or not either of them are. So ultimately, I kind of alighted over this. She says no to Jalen in the door in the final recoupling, and she says yes to Taylor. She says it's like going home. So, there's moments throughout these stretch of episodes he sets up dates for her. They do a little salsa dance class. They go to the photo booth, which is code for do you want to make out? I've realized on this season. But they don't seem to have the sort of physical chemistry that, say, Anais and Chelley, to be honest, have, or some of the others. Even when they kiss, it looks kind of weird.
Yes, it does. Because she sucks everybody's face, but they do this grandma kiss that's like, and then at the end he does like a little like he like motorboats her mouth in a very weird way.
I think the thing that we have to figure out, and as viewers we don't really know yet, is this just how this dude is? Because some guys are just kind of awkward, and I saw one of his friends came to his defense on TikTok and basically said as much. He in fact called him weird, said he moves slow.
Yeah, I think they're because the way they are affectionate with each other, the way they speak about each other indicates, like, because Olandria at one point was like, hey, if they'd have voted you off, I'd have packed my bags and left. And he's like trying to do, he was like cursing at the sand because it wouldn't make I love you or whatever he was trying to put in the sand. They just they seem very like they're into each other. I think both of them actually are kind of like a little bit more awkward than
Olandria too, you think?
Olandria, yeah, because she just like she's very like matter of fact in her and the way she like speaks about affection. You know, she's like, hey, I just like you a lot. You know, like there's not like, I don't know. I think that they're both like working it out. And I also think that this is a relationship that only works on an island where you're secluded from each other. And it's like this, you know, like I don't think they would meet in a club or like be in a social setting. And they probably would just kind of be friends if they were out together. But because you're in a thing where it's like two people have to get together and start like falling in love, I think they're like finding that chemistry.
I think we won't know the answer to this question until they bring in a girl for Taylor.
Yeah, and I think Casa Amor is like where we're gonna. I think this is the Casa Amor couple. Like
we're gonna find out more. Yeah. It's the Cordell Serena arc just kind of looms over them, and I don't think I was buying Cordell Serena at this point either. So I don't know. Okay, let's get to Hannah, Charlie / Pepe.
Okay. All right.
Is there anything more predictable than Hannah immediately moving on from Charlie a day after weaving into her bed at the photo booth? She did
the Wolverine Jean Grey in the bed.
Also, Charlie's final Hail Mary, where it seemed like he was going to tell the cast, like, it's okay if I'm voted out. Yeah. He was like, Hannah and I, we discovered each other. We had this conversation that changed everything. Hannah's like sitting there nodding. I'm like, nah, you're gonna forget about this man. He's gone.
And then he was like, promise me one thing. You'll find me after this. And Hannah was like, sure will, buddy.
So if it hadn't broken the way it had, which is if they hadn't done the recoupling and America hadn't voted for her and Pepe, I do think that she would have stuck with Charlie.
Yes.
You know, she made it clear. So her and Pepe, you know, they have kind of an interesting conversation. She says she's studying to be a doctor and that she's smart. Always a good sign of intelligence when you tell someone you're smart.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They both went to Cal State Fullerton. They both have angel number tattoos, which is a thing I now know exists after Googling it. And they make out. They like fully make out. She says, a master never reveals her secrets. And he says, you mean a magician? They make out after trying to kick Charlie out of the kitchen where he's making guacamole. And he says no. So at this point, Charlie's like, it's over. I know it's over. They're making out. You know, he seems pretty glum about it. He tries a few Hail Marys, including the Amaya Hail Mary.
Melting down.
Amaya's like, what are you doing? We've never talked. Who are you? I'm not even sure what your name is.
He emptied the playbook and was like, let's see what we got here. And Amaya again cries, sobs over this thing. And like it seemed like a sob to get out the conversation. It seemed like she cried to like, please stop talking to me. I'm gonna cry and get this thing over with.
So it seems like it's over. He's spiraling. But really quickly, what do we think of Pepe before we get to Hannah's change of heart?
What do you think of Pepe?
I did put in our chat, if Pepe was allowed to wear fitteds, he'd be running this villa. I'm cool. Look at his gram.
Yeah.
Pepe's cool. He's like a chiller. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, he's kind of a cool dude.
He's a cool guy. Everybody likes him. Former basketball player.
Super athletic, 6'2". We went through his Instagram. He's doing windmill 360s.
He's a point guard, so that's what was my first clip. Like, because he looks like gigantic compared to the guys, and then you realize he's a point guard, and then you work backwards from that, and you're like, oh, this is actually just aren't that like super tall guys in the villa right now. He's just like very chill, and Hannah says he reminds her of guys he's dated in the past. She's dated in the past, which is why she tells Charlie, she's like, actually, dude, I'm in it for you. He's shocked.
Yeah, right. Because with the masterful editing here, which like there was some real like cinematic excellence here going on with Love Island, from the split screen of Huda on her knees as like Iris opens the door. Like that is just like
Incredible. Putting them next
incredible.
to each other. You know, they do it. So
Incredible.
that is a little bit of drama.
They have Chelley explaining to Charlie that there's nothing to worry about as Hannah is straddling Pepe in the speakeasy. Like just perfect juxtaposition there.
I'm going to come for you. You're my strong, brave girl.
There was no question that it would take less than 24 hours for her to start making out with Pepe.
I think America, I mean, I don't know who else they would have put Pepe with, maybe Cierra, but Sierra's clearly more into Nick.
Well, the last thing we saw of Pepe and Hannah was she was straddling him in the speak, like you know what I'm saying, like it seemed like she had moved on, so that was a natural vote, like to act like you got things wrong, like that's not, you know.
I think Hannah's just kind of horny. I don't know. That's kind of the vibe I get from her.
Oh my god! Look, my first note in my notes is Hannah horny. That is like the first thing that I have here, because she was thirsty for when the bombshells were coming. I think before they got there, she was like, "I'm ready. I want to make out with more people. I locked it in too early." She just wanted to like make out. I think she just wanted to make out with Pepe and then go back to Charlie just to say that she did it, and it kind of backfired.
I'm not doing an all look same here. I'm not trying to profile, but I really struggled to tell the difference between Hannah and Iris at points in this last few episodes. Although Hannah, I feel like I got a feel for what her face looks like.
Yeah.
Which is like a young Amanda Bynes, as I figured out. Iris, I feel like looks like a different person in every shot.
Yes.
Do you feel that way too?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
This woman, like what? Yeah. What does she actually look like? I have no idea.
Yeah, like it's different scenes. Yeah, different scenes, different versions of Iris, depending on what you got. So.
But we didn't really address this because Iris is, I guess, looped in with Huda and Jeremiah, and now it's Iris and Jeremiah. I like Iris. I think she's cool.
Yeah. She has a good personality. She seems to get along well with everybody, especially the guys. Like whenever she's out with the guys on the dates or whatever, it's like, this seems like a cool date. Seems like a cool hang. Clearly, she got Ace, took Ace by surprise, which we can't wait for us to talk about that. But like, she's a good, like solid, like I could see why, like she's a grower. Like when you hang out with her, it's like, we have a good chemistry. Yeah.
She absolutely grew on me, because in the beginning when she came in, I was like, I don't know, this girl's not that interesting. And then she actually is shown having more normal conversations with people than anyone in the villa, I think. Yes. Like talking about just things she likes and her aspirations and her background. And so I came to like her by the end of it. That'll be reflected in my power rankings. Okay, Ace, Amaya, Austin, Chelley. So last we talked about, Ace had recoupled with Amaya, then he grew to hate her immediately. Austin and Chelley were still a couple. They ultimately switched at the end with the door recoupling. Ace is now back with Chelley, or with Chelley. He was never back with Chelley. Amaya is with Austin. We'll go over kind of everything that happened, but my reaction to all of this is this could have been an email.
Yes.
Right? Like they wasted all of our time.
They wasted so much. I actually felt bad for Amaya and Austin that there was an interruption in their coupling. Like that was the thing. Yes. Like that was, as much as I was upset about Ace picking Amaya for like making Chelley like pretend to actually, I was really surprised. I'm jumping around a little bit, but I was really surprised at how distraught Chelley seemed that Austin picked Amaya. Like she seemed really upset by that. Way more upset than she was when Ace picked Amaya in the first recoupling, which, may allude to the theory of like, this is some acting thing, or she was really, I could never get the vibe of her in Austin, but she seemed really upset by that.
Chelley is a hard read here.
Yeah.
Because Ace, I definitely think, is playing the game. I think he likes Chelley the best, but we're talking about the Iris thing in a moment. Chelley is the hard of these four. Chelley is the hard read. Look, Amaya and Austin are just. You ever see that tweet? It's always two dumb bees telling each other.
I knew you were going to say that.
I've also texted you multiple times. I hate this show for making me like Austin.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sorry. What we are shown on screen, he is relatively pretty likable. Amaya is an absolute nutcase.
Yes. Yes,
who is also likable.
But she seems more normal when she's with, like, it seems like when she's with Austin, they just kind of like they kind of work. They even from the beginning when they did their yoga, when she goes, we go to kiss, and Austin goes, for sure, and like kisses her, like that's absolutely hilarious. They just seem to work. They just seem to be like this couple that some like it is that couple that's just like, I don't know how it worked, but they just kind of work together.
When Austin chooses her and then she opens the door and she's chosen him too, and then Ariana goes to Ace, you are coupled up with Amaya. And Austin goes, not anymore, buddy. Right. And everybody laughs. That cracked me up too. Yes. I understand Austin has some problematic posts, and I'm just talking about him on the show.
Yeah, I did make a note here that Austin voting for Taylor and then saying he messed up. Probably not the first time a Florida person has regretted his vote, but just throw that out there.
I actually just think he's not smart enough to understand like what the boys are
right.
like.
Yes.
And I'm glad for Amaya too, because she had the week before was really rough, and I feel like she's gotten to be like the voice of reason. I think Ian even made a joke about that in certain conversations. Let's talk about Ace and Chelley. This is the more interesting part of this. Mm. So this one I do want to talk about. So Ace, okay, there's a couple things I want to talk about. These dates are BS, I think.
I hate them. I hate the dates. I hate the dates.
My old boy texted me, he was like, oh, I'm taking notes. And I was like, no, first of all, exactly what Ace wants you to do. Because this dude is a pickup artist, everything he does. But the dates are stupid. Hibachi breakfast is not a thing. It's not a thing. You just made her eggs.
It's just Waffle House. Waffle House is hibachi breakfast. And that's all they do is just make waffle. Like, there's no such thing as hibachi breakfast. We're going to do pancakes and ping pongs. And like, because really the thing is... You're right.
Because Nick wear a suit jacket.
Because also you're bringing everybody in the villa into it, and it's just like more for show than it is for like. Yeah, it's more like I'm gonna do this like Instagrammable, like perfect guy thing with Chelley instead of just like, let's go talk, let's go like do a thing together. Let the two of us go do, like, he's always involving somebody else in these stupid dates.
It's always Nick. Yeah. And then it creates the drama with Jeremiah and Huda, because Huda's like,
right.
Where's my stupid hibachi date? I think the other thing is, like, amidst all of this, he is talking to Iris, and I legitimately think he wanted to be coupled with her instead of Chelley. Well, I want to get your thoughts on this, because they show him and Iris have a couple conversations, and they have like legitimate chemistry that I think takes them both by surprise. He tells Chelley at some point, and she tells the camera, okay, I need to take a step back.
Yeah.
And then Iris gets coupled up with... He picks Iris, by the way, for the makeout challenge or something. Yeah. Like, clearly he's intrigued by her. And then he
brings her breakfast. Yes. He brings just her breakfast one of the mornings. Yes.
So Chelley's starting to get a little bit annoyed by this, but then America takes Iris away from... She does not create the possibility of Ace ever picking her. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this so bad.
Ace, again, tuned into the votes, tuned into America. When America did not put him and Iris together, he said, I need to course correct. That is 100% what happened. He said he never spoke to Iris, or that we've seen. There was no meaningful interaction once he saw that the votes did not put him with Iris. Like that, that was it. He said they said there's something that they're seeing between me and Iris that they don't want to have happen, and I'm not partnered with her. Whether it is how they think he may be treating Chelley, whether they don't want, maybe he's like, they don't want me with this blonde-haired white lady over Chelley. Whatever it is, he said, I am course correcting. This is what America actually wants. I'm going with Chelley, full stop. Whether he likes her or not, he may actually like her or may feel like he can string her along while he's exploring these other people. But he saw those votes and he flipped the switch on those votes and said, this is actually what people want. I'm going with Chelley.
So our read of Ace at this point is quite cynical. We both, we've been talking about the way he moved with the Iris thing, the way he moved with the vote.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of landing on this interpretation where he is trying to play the game. He wants to win, but most importantly, he wants to win the hearts of America, right? I think Casamore is going to be fascinating because if he stays with Chelley until then, and I think that seems likely, there's no way he can switch it up on her if he wants to. He's smart. Let me say another thing. I think Ace is the smartest person here, other than
Yes,
the
yes.
men.
And and Austin clocked it. Austin like
Yeah.
had the moment of like saying these dudes are following Ace. These guys, Ace is the ringleader. Like
Yeah.
he clocked this thing in a way that I didn't think he would be the person. He was like Shaggy figuring out who's under the mask. Like he figured this thing out very early on and said Ace is these dudes just following around with Ace. He didn't like it.
So where does Chelley factor into all of this? Because like I said, at one point she's like, I'm tired of him
Yeah.
exploring, and he went after Iris. Is she, to use a Davidism, boo-boo the fool? Or is she just kind of coasting?
Yeah.
She doesn't get emotional. She's not really affected.
Right.
But she was a little bit like, whoa, Austin didn't pick me. But for the most part, she doesn't seem like super affected by anything.
I'm not sure if she has found the actual person that she wants yet. You know?
Sarah.
Yes, right? Right? Like I think that she may be more into like Cierra or just like I think a new bombshell. I think a Casa Amor might actually be fascinating for Chelley. Because I would like to see and maybe that's just her personality, maybe that's just who she is.
She's a very
But
low-key person.
very low key, very even keeled person, but which makes it when she's talking about Austin, it always felt like she just was kind of trying to force it. But she also seemed really actually upset to the point that when Ace picked her, she was kind of still reeling from the fact that Austin had picked Amaya.
I will say, Austin. I don't think Austin. I don't think he was ever like in love with her or really that into her. I think she is such a good personality. I think she's so chill and calm that, as he said, every time they were together, he was kind of taken by it, like drawn to her. I mean, she's obviously gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. Yeah, I think of all the Islanders is the one I'm struggling the most to get a read on. Like whether she's going to go along with this Ace, because they do have chemistry. Well, we'll say that, like, in the scenes where they're just talking and not doing his dumb dates, like they genuinely get along. I think he is, he can hang with her. They can hang with each other. You don't think so?
He is so far out of his league intellectually, just like she's more dynamic than like he is. To me, he is like social media dynamic. Like he's cool to like watch on TV, but in a conversation, she is like running circles around this dude. You know, like she's just like
he's pretty clever, but I hear you.
But she's like my R&B. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to sing this R&B, and she like makes a joke, and like he's cracking up. Like he's like she is just so. I just don't think she has like sort of found that level. Like I think Austin actually is. I think is what she kind of liked about him was that he wasn't intellectually on her level, but they were just like socially were kind of like had fun. You know, I think Ace is kind of like fun and flirty with her, and it's cute. But I don't think he is like enthralling or captivating to her in a way that I would imagine if I saw her in a past relationship with somebody she's dating. I think you would see like what her actual attractiveness and like intellectual equal is.
I'm on the fence here because I just don't. I feel like she won so many of us over early by seeing she's beautiful and cool and seems like she has a fun personality. But at a certain point, like if you're, complicit or like, I mean, he does all like. Every time I watch him, I just get like the strongest pickup artist vibes. Even that little thing he does where he's always like fixing her hair. When he goes in, I don't know. I'm just.
It's he's like the Steve Harvey, like how to be a man or whatever. Like what is that? Whatever the thing. Like he's like that in human form. Like he's doing everything that's based on like even before when he was talking about what did you do for a girl? I flew her out and I had a poem ready for like it feels very textbook in a way that I think Austin is outside of that and kind of is more spontaneous to Chelley. I think she knows what Ace can bring to her.
All right, final couple. Really not much to talk about with Nick and Cierra. No drama. Great string of episodes for them. I think in terms of like just having like cute, funny moments, but not being involved in any toxicity.
I'd kind of forgotten about their affection with each other up until when she opened the door or he opened the door and they're kind of like hugging and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I kind of forgot that they were like a couple.
there are a couple scenes where other drama is happening and they're like sitting really like together, and you're kind of reminded of it then. So going back to the leather and lace thing or challenge or whatever, there's just some funny moments where when she spins around and Pepe kisses her, Nick goes, "Remember the hideaway?" Like I think he's funny. They show him having a conversation with Iris where he says she's the kind of girl he's usually interested in. He also says at that point that people think he has the male equivalent of resting bee face, which he describes as resting nothing going on face. Cierra does tell Taylor at one point, again, Taylor is the girl's guy, that she really likes Nick.
Yes.
And
is that what Cierra, where they have the conversation about evolution? Nick?
Yes, he says he thinks just too much evidence supporting it. He says some monkeys are smarter than humans, and at one point he was addicted to hippos because he was watching safari compilations. There's also a scene of him wearing a Mommy's Little Meatball shirt.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
yes.
My guy. I just like him. I can't help myself.
Glad he got the lip thing worked out. There was
he was working through a lot of skin-related issues.
Consternation about what was going on with his face out there in Fiji.
Yeah.
Now when we're talking about Nick, we have to talk about TikTok is still shipping the Nickandria thing, and they go into that. They have the log cabin challenge. They go out there. They make out hot and heavy. He carries her out. So when Olandria got picked by everybody.
Yeah.
And when her and Austin make out, she's like, Austin's my bro. We're friends. And Austin's like, yeah, we're buddies. Good to kiss your buddy. Nick and her make out. Nick carries her out. And Nick is really like lighthearted about it. But he just says she's smoking hot. I like making out with her. Super sexy. There was no this added fuel to the Nick Olandria TikTok shipping going on.
I think it's because people want better for Olandria. They want genuine physical chemistry, and they're, as will be reflected shortly in my power rankings, two of the most likable people by a mile in the villa. So I think that's driving a lot of that. But we're monitoring the situation. We're monitoring.
There was some chemistry in that cabin. Just throwing that out there.
All right, it's time for the power rankings. So I'm going to do my top 3 first.
Mm-hmm.
And you will not be surprised based on our conversation. We're going Cierra, Nick, Olandria.
Easy.
By far the 3 most likable people in the villa.
Yes.
Cierra goes on top because Olandria is still coupled up with a guy we are a little bit dubious of.
Yeah.
Cierra's with Nick, who, as we described, very funny.
Good week.
He likes her. They had a good week.
Yeah, good week. Olandria, by the way, we should mention, smoking hot all week. This is her A game. This was just like a really she was putting up 40, 20, and 10 Jokic numbers all week. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, with good full body massage, we get some shots.
Yes, yeah.
There are the 3. I would say. Well, then I'm going to might surprise you, but I'm putting Taylor next.
Okay,
even though I'm still a little bit unclear of, I have not decided whether or not I think they should be together, whether he's actually into her. I'm still skeptical. These are the 4 people I'd want to hang out the most with.
Yes, Taylor. Just a good sport also with the Jalen thing. Like really shows his concern. Yeah. Very genuine. Was not like, at one point when Jalen takes Olandria and he's like, you better hold her hand down the steps, my boy. Which is like, that made me laugh. That was cool.
He's funny. I'm sorry. He's funny. Okay. So this one might surprise you because her standing in the villa is not, this was a little bit of a battle between who I like and what's going on with her. I'm putting Iris here.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
A little surprising because I don't think she's in a good spot because she doesn't have like a good love interest. Right. Obviously, her and Jeremiah is not going to be a thing. Maybe, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like it. But I think that she won like the week in terms of the way she went about her business, the way she's handled things. She dramatically rose in my estimation. I think she seems like actually a cool person. All the guys, everybody seems to like her.
And she's navigating a really, really tough situation. And really stood tall when Huda like took her to the side and they had their conversation. She told her what happened. She was very chill about it. She's been handling this really, really well.
Maya and Austin next.
Yeah. Austin, you just keep on rising above, somehow being likable in the face of nobody wanting to like you. It's just slowly watching the internet being like, can't wait to get rid of this dude, and everybody coming around to him being like, not bad.
Amaya, just truly a great reality TV persona, because they are the one. This is not going to last. This is, I mean, not. I don't mean like I think the piece is not going to last. One of them is going to be pulled away, and it's going to be incredibly dramatic and funny when it happens.
I'm kind of bought into them as a quirky, weird couple. Again, I wish we would have had more time with them that Ace hadn't ruined, but they seem to just work.
I'm gonna put Chelley next.
Okay.
I still really like her. I find her very likable. She's obviously gorgeous. She's with Ace, who she wanted to be with, frankly, from the beginning. We talked about how like this last week could have been an email. If Yulissa had never come on the show, they might be together from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I have to demote her because I am just still suspect of her judgment. I guess I would put it that way.
Yes.
And that is holding me back.
Fair. And also, it's just hard, as we mentioned, it's hard to read her and see what's actually going on with her.
Pepe and Hannah next.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Harmless, unmemorable kind of folks. Hannah switching the pictures on the pillow and then making out with Pepe as soon as she woke up the next morning. Just phenomenal stuff. Predictable and phenomenal.
Okay, we have 3 people left.
Okay.
Ace, Jeremiah, Huda. So Jeremiah has escaped.
Yeah. But theoretically. She's still on the island. Who knows?
Still on the island.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Ace here.
Whoa! Okay.
From below the flames to 10th out of 12.
Yeah. Out of hell.
He's with Chelley. I think he's playing the game masterfully.
And there are a lot of people who reacted to last week's episode with how much they loved Ace from the beginning. And I think you're all wrong. So there's that.
However, Ace is responsible for the single moment that made me laugh the most when America picked Iris and he burst out laughing.
And he just cracked up laughing.
It's really funny. It's really funny.
I was like, this man is he is here to play the game because everybody is crying and sobbing, and he did not even blink, did not shed a single tear for that moment. And when he had the chance, why do you want to vote for Huda? He kept going. He gave like a 5-minute monologue about how much he hates this woman and this relationship, and he emptied out the barrel on Huda. Just phenomenal work by Ace.
That leaves, right, because Jalen was eliminated. Jeremiah and Huda. So we're going to put, of course, Huda at the bottom. Do we think Huda is long for this island?
I don't think so. I mean, it'll clearly take a bombshell. But even then, the bombshell's been watching the show.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if there's going to be a bombshell that pops up and is like, I got eyes for Huda. You know, that's just not going to happen.
I'm mature. I'm ready for a child. Right. She got done dirty. I don't see that happening.
That's not happening. That's not going to happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if she just leaves. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if she just, I'm out of here. Like that just feels, as much as the producers are going to want to beg her to stay and promise her that she's going to be famous if she stays, there's nobody on that island that's going to date her. And I just do not see anybody popping up on the island after that who's going to want to be with her, unless there's a Casa Amor thing where she has a chance to win somebody over, or unless Ace just says, hey, I liked you from the beginning. That ain't happening. So I think the best thing for her is that she's probably going to, just leave on her own.
I hope not immediately.
Give a couple episodes.
Upshot of this. All right, that wraps our power rankings for this week. Let us know if you agree or disagree. I feel like maybe there's going to be more Ace defenders. Yeah. That man is playing y'all, but it's fine. Good TV.
Austin knows. Austin knows. Listen to Austin. He knows what's up. He's a genius.
God. So David has been covering the NBA Finals.
Yes.
And heroically powering through and also covering Love Island for you. So as always, though, we're going to wrap with, have you been watching anything else? I'll go first.
Okay, go for it.
I teased this last week because I started it. This is overtime, by the way. I finished season 2 of The Rehearsal.
Okay, yeah. So right.
I'm going to talk about it at length on Pablo's pod. Pablo Torre finds out. So anyone who's like already watched the show, go listen to it there. But it is the single most insane season of television I've ever seen.
Okay.
David, the premise is this guy, Nathan Fielder, this comedian who's like very socially awkward, recreates situations and lets people rehearse them to try to get past the awkwardness. Season 2 is all about him investigating how pilots on an airplane accidents result because they don't communicate with each other. So he stages an entire flight in which he is the pilot and flies hundreds of people. This is not a spoil at this point, you know. It is crazy that they let this happen. I don't know.
So do I need to watch season 1 to
No, you don't.
Okay, cool. We can jump into season 2.
You would like it. I don't know if you would like it. Although I would love to hear you talk about it because it is truly fascinating and it deals with like neurodivergence. It's like a really big topic on this season because he's kind of wrestling with the idea that he might be neurodivergent and how that's affected the way he interacts with people. It's legitimately fascinating, is all I'll say.
Okay. Finals are done any day now. So I'm going to lock in on that. I just passively was watching Stick, which is the fake Ted Lasso golf thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The charm just isn't there. The charm is not there.
Yeah, we tried the first episode. Like, couldn't really get... It's Owen Wilson. We couldn't really get invested in that either.
Yeah. I am on a flight reading Damon Young's sort of anthology of like funny black authors being funny. This is how they get you. It's really like a lot of my favorite writers, Casey Lehman, Damon Young, Panama Jackson, Saida Grundy's in there, like different people writing funny stories, which like we don't often get to see a lot of black writers and big publishing get to do. So it's a really good book. So
this is how they get you.
Yes.
All right. There. We go high too. We're not.
We go high.
Low.
Yeah. We do it. I'm reading. I'm on the plane watching the BDSM episode of Love Island and flipping through some books.
Okay. Please in the comments tell us if you agree with the ace theories, because I am still trying to wrap my mind around last night's result. You, me, and Jalen Brunson are trying to wrap our minds around what happened. This is so confusing. He tweeted that he said, I'm talking about Love Island. I don't know what else people thought he was talking about. Trump leaving the G7? Like what?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
Maybe the WNBA? I don't know. All right. We will be back on Wednesday again. That is where we are releasing these episodes now. And we'll see you guys then.